The opening credits show 1950s nuclear tests. White strips obscure opening credits information. Nuclear bombs explode, military personnel put on protective eyewear, and Godzilla spines temporarily appear from the sea. They want Godzilla dead. He yells when it fails. Monarch helicopters fly over a massive Philippine excavation in 1999. It resembles a pit mine. The trenches employ thousands. Ichiro Serizawa, Ken Watanabe, and Vivian Graham, Sally Hawkins, exit the helicopter. An American supervisor tells them their tests show uranium. The location collapsed into a cavern after they loaded heavy equipment. They go there to see a gigantic skeleton that fills the cave. A cocoon, possibly hatched, hangs from the cave ceiling. As you enter the cave, it appears that a massive creature crept out and tore a path to the sea. Graham and Serizawa wonder what emerged from the cocoon. Joe Brody, Bryan Cranston, is worried about earthquakes at the Jinjira nuclear power plant in Japan. He recommends closing the power plant. He worries about upsetting the Japanese, but he insists on a meeting. His shy son gave him a sign. His birthday. His wife Sandy, Juliette Binoche, rushes the son to school. She reminds Brody that his son, Ford, has prepared a birthday surprise. He urges his wife to check the reactor zone after they arrive at the plant. Brody argues at the plant. Brody believes the seismic readout on a computer display is unique and couldn't be an earthquake, but his superiors think it's aftershocks from the recent Philippine earthquakes. His aide informs him that earthquake rumblings have increased in hours, not days. The plant trembles. Before the process can begin, Brody cries, "We need to shut down now." Another shaker rocks the factory, activating red lights everywhere. Brody's wife is in the reactor's breach. Brody rushes downstairs to keep the protective shield door on manual override to save his wife. Sandy and her team race through the tunnels to avoid a radioactive cloud that will kill them despite their protection gear. Sandy stops when a teammate falls. Brody verified his dominance at the door. He learns Sandy is dead through walkie-talkie. Brody shakes in fear of losing her. She advises him to close the entrance to rescue the city. He shuts the door and their destiny at the last minute. Sandy and her team appear seconds after the main entrance closes. As the secondary door closes, Brody cries as his wife is soaked in radioactive mist. As he's evacuated from school, Ford Brody, C.J. Adams, sees the cooling towers collapse. His parents work there. He watches his life crumble as his classmates go. 15 years later, and after 14 months at sea in the U.S. Navy, Lieutenant Ford Brody returns to San Francisco with his wife Elle and their young son Sam. Ford prepares for mommy/daddy time after a nice welcome home scenario. Ford hears that his estranged father, Joe Brody, has been detained in Japan for trespassing. Ford visits his father. Ford is upset to rescue his father in Tokyo. Joe's mental breakdown following the disaster harmed their relationship. Joe's tiny apartment is conspiracy theorist heaven. Pictures and publications cover the walls. Research is everywhere. His dad is obsessed with the Jinjira accident. Ford offers to take him home because he's babbling about echolocation and earthquakes talking to each other. Joe needs a break from his grandchild. Joe is determined to discover what happened that day. He says he needs to hurry back to his house to grab his research and laments that he doesn't even have a picture of his wife. His wife is still buried in the quarantine zone. Ford reluctantly helps Dad. They return to the rundown area. A pack of dogs runs through. In a radioactive wasteland, how? Joe's Geiger counter reveals no radioactivity. He removes his helmet and breathes deeply, confirming the air is safe. Ford is becoming suspicious. Joe finds his 3.5-inch zip disks. He sees Sandy's picture and Ford's birthday sign, still hanging. Ford pockets an ancient army toy soldier. Helicopter blades break their reverie. As soon as they leave, Japanese-speaking security officers take them to the abandoned nuclear plant. Graham and Serizawa chat to others. They worry about activity around a strange cone-shaped biological object projecting from the old reactor. Someone interrupts to say they must come with him. They visit Joe's interrogation. He seems crazy, but Graham says his data matches theirs. He's the only one who remembers 15 years ago and wants to see his son and obtain answers about the accident that killed his wife. The data in the main room show that EMP waves are destroying their devices often. Like 1999. Serizawa accepts the program's termination. After lowering a steel containment net, millions of watts of electricity are administered to the chrysalis, destroying the organic pod and its light. A giant multi-legged creature breaks out of the shell and pounds its clawed leg on the ground, causing an EMP pulse that kills all facility power and frees Joe. As the creature struggles, people scream and fled. Ford remains shackled. He witnesses the slaughter helplessly. A support breaks the detainment truck, freeing him. Joe looks in horror as his son dies. The bridge collapses and he falls, endangering his life. Ford puts on a gas mask and watches the thing fly away. Captain Russell Hampton, Richard T. Jones, briefs Serizawa of the U.S. military takeover the following day. He asks Serizawa for team members. He points to Joe's bandaged stretcher. Military transports Joe and Ford. Joe dies. Serizawa and others ask Ford about his father's results. Ford remembers echolocation but won't remark on his father's obsession. Serizawa realizes this, calls Ford into a briefing room, and tells him that the recently hatched MUTO, massive unidentified terrestrial organism, may be trying to connect with a great creature that roamed the Pacific long ago. Serizawa then shows the 1954 nuclear test footage from the opening credits with some important details, including a few frames of a familiar enormous spiky creature. Serizawa says the nuclear experiments were meant to destroy this creature. Serizawa believes Godzilla is returning, and he is soon spotted. Godzilla's navy follows. L is distraught at the Japan disaster coverage and can't reach Ford. Ford is put on a helicopter to Hawaii to fly home as he has nothing to contribute. The Navy verifies MUTO's Pacific crossing. Godzilla's spines are flanked by the fleet. Serizawa believes Godzilla is monitoring the MUTO and wants to fight it to restore nature. Ford waits for his terminal train at Honolulu Airport. The toy soldier captivates a Japanese boy. The boy boards the train alone and the doors close. Ford promises to be their boy again. He hopes to make his flight. The carrier ship hears the Russians are missing a nuclear sub. The nuclear facility was toxic-free because the MUTO eats radiation. It perhaps ate the sub. A team investigates the Honolulu forest. The team finds the sub in a tree, slimy. MUTO eats nuclear fuel canisters. The jets launch an airborne attack, but the MUTO fires its EMP, wiping out their navigation controls and sending them crashing. The airport train loses electricity. Ford tells the youngster that power will return soon, unaware that the MUTO caused the outage. A girl observes the jets explode in the hills from a hotel luau. The small girl realizes that the sea water is retreating quickly, worrying the throng. Something's displacing tons of water. Godzilla moves all that water swiftly. Honolulu floods as the beast lands. Downtown and the luau are inundated. Power returns to the airport, but the MUTO has reached the elevated lines and the train is headed straight into its jaws. The giant tears the track, killing people. Ford grabs the kid before he falls out of the wrecked train. The MUTO escapes Godzilla by flapping its gigantic wings and proceeding to the mainland. Elle asks her kid to go to bed in San Francisco as he watches the news. MUTO and Godzilla are known worldwide. The ship is tracking the MUTO. It's going to San Francisco. Graham and Serizawa decide it must be going to the other, long-dead MUTO. Unfortunately, the extremely radioactive body has been housed in the Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository in Nevada, where food is abundant. The female MUTO escapes and heads to her mate when troops approach. The route goes through Las Vegas. The second MUTO, larger and more powerful than the first, destroys everything in its path through Las Vegas. The Navy is luring the two MUTOs offshore with a nuclear missile. Godzilla follows. They'll blast the explosives, killing all three beasts. The plan's short-sightedness amazes Graham. She and Serizawa doubt the strategy because MUTOs devour radiation. Captain Hampton thinks the latest bombs can destroy everything. Serizawa doubts. Ford boards a Navy transport to the mainland after delivering the boy to his parents in destroyed Honolulu. The bait and killer explosive will go by rail. Ford claims its competence to go into the specifics. The bombs will be shipped by train to the coast to start the plan. The train is moving well until a tremor stops it before a dangerous mountain bridge. The team radios ahead, but the walkie-talkie screams are bad news. They split into two groups, unsure if the bridge exists. The female MUTO was waiting. It destroys the bridge, eats a nuclear, and kills everyone on the train except Ford, who dives into the river as the bridge breaks. Ford and the nuke are recovered by sunrise. They'll fly the remaining bomb and try to adapt. President approves. Serizawa criticizes our arrogance, believing we can control nature when it's the other way around. Godzilla follows the two MUTOs to San Francisco for their reunion. Despite Serizawa's protests, the Navy will destroy all the ships despite the monster's lack of threat. Ford calls Elle at the hospital to say he's coming and asks her to wait. The city is preparing to evacuate. Elle surrenders her son to a coworker. Tanks block evacuation shuttles on the Golden Gate Bridge. The Navy's bomb features an analog countdown timer to prevent MUTOs EMP. Winged MUTO attacks set the clock. He gives his partner the bomb while searching for a snack. The bigger MUTO breaks up Chinatown to construct a nest for its babies, which the mother will feed until they hatch. Godzilla appears at the Golden Gate Bridge. Godzilla destroys the bridge when troops attack instinctively. Bus drivers break over barricades to rescue passengers. Ford, hurt, claims he can disarm the trigger in 60 seconds. He's on the team for a dangerous halo jump into San Francisco to take the bomb, disable it, and blow the monsters up one last time. They jump, losing 2 when Godzilla arrives to combat the monsters. Godzilla is doing well against the tiny, winged male, but when the giant mother exits the nest to help, they assault Godzilla. The troops found the nest and nuke, but the case is broken and they can't disarm it. They take it to a boat with extra tools and send it away from the city. In the city, the MUTOs mercilessly pierce Godzilla's huge body. He fights despite looking defeated. Ford sees thousands of eggs at the nest and believes they're a bigger menace. He floods the chamber with gasoline by opening tanker truck spouts. Godzilla is shredded by the MUTOs when the nest bursts, destroying all the eggs and sending the mother rushing back to the nest in a panic. Godzilla needs this break. He recovers and rejoins the flying MUTO. MUTO has air dominance, but Godzilla's long spiky tail pushes it into a skyscraper, killing it. Ford has been shaken by the blast. The female MUTO mourns the pups but scents the bomb and returns to get it. When Godzilla reappears and his spinal crest glows blue, the female leans menacingly toward Ford. The beast blasts the female MUTO with radioactive breath, pushing it back. He fights it hand to hand. The female MUTO's EMP disables the ship's engines as the team attempts to reach open ocean. The beast rips the warriors apart as they struggle to rescue the mission. Ford disarms the bomb on the boat as the monster attacks shore troops. The female MUTO targets his little vessel since the casing is too damaged. Godzilla quietly grips Mama MUTO's throat. He launches an atomic fire blast down her throat and rips her head off. Godzilla dies on the beach. The ship's power returns, and Ford orders the GPS to guide it into the bay. It's too late to disarm. He surrenders, falling to the deck. A blinking light awakens him as a medevac helicopter rescues him. The autopiloted boat explodes in a nuclear explosion far from the city. Godzilla's mangled corpse lies in San Francisco streets. Ford limps through an improvised stadium shelter. He discovered his son, but emergency personnel are still trying to rescue people from the kaiju-destroyed hospital, and Elle is still missing. His son sees Elle and they cuddle. Reunited and safe. Serizawa mourns the enormous beast's corpse. It snorts and lumbers toward the water. Serizawa smiles, glad this powerful force of nature survived. King of the monsters, savior of our city? Godzilla dives back into the water and swims away. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment and subscribe to watch more videos like this. Thank you, and see you on the next video.